Hey Bears fans, I'm Juju Phillips, voice of the Bears.
And I'm Ian Shields, head football coach, Lenoir-Rhyne Bears.
Lenoir-Rhyne football has a proud tradition of football excellence, and we're excited for this 2014 season with new players, new coaches, and new expectations.
Join us Saturdays this fall and celebrate 50 years of football between the bricks as the Lenoir-Rhyne Bears go in search of our 4th straight South Atlantic Conference championship.
Come watch the Bears attack and take charge in 2014.
Touchdown, Lenoir-Rhyne.
You're watching the Lenoir-Rhyne Bears Football Weekly Press Luncheon with head football coach Ian Shields. Today's special guest, new women's basketball coach Katie Pate.
But now officially, please join me in a warm welcome for our women's head basketball coach, Katie Pate.
Good afternoon. This is a great room with so many familiar faces. Excited to be here, and thank you, Neil, first and foremost, and a long line of folks that really were instrumental in having the opportunity to return to Lenoir-Rhyne University, as well as Dr. Wayne Powell. Particularly have to thank the Piedmont Education Foundation as well. Their continued support of not just women's basketball, but of our athletics department as a whole is just so instrumental in the success that we're able to have. Couple other ones, South Atlantic Conference, in the direction that they continue to move the women's basketball teams in this league. It's really, they've done just a wonderful job in terms of promoting the sport as a whole. Also have to thank 2 young women in the room. Neil's already mentioned, my staff was already in place, and a blessing at that. Morgan Sikarsky, who I had the opportunity to work with for 3 years. Kind of slid right across the office into the seat that I vacated for a very short duration. And then as well as Allison Seeberger, who comes to us as our first-year graduate assistant from Illinois State University, bringing some great Midwestern roots and Division I experience to a program that we hope to be in the same conversation as a lot of Division I programs. So just really an exciting time. As I shared with us in a statement with John, this is a homecoming of sorts. I hope Neil doesn't mind me sharing my story with him. When I accepted the position at Georgia State University, there was a time of growth in my professional career at that time, and I met with Neil. They'd made a wonderful offer to me, and the last thing that I said to him is, if by some chance Todd were to leave, I really hope you'd consider me for this position. And he looked at me and he said, "Don't say it if you don't mean it." And I said, "I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it." So in that conversation that he referenced just over a week ago, I said, "Now I know you are as sharp as a tack, but do you remember the conversation that we had when I walked out of the office the last time I saw you?" And he said, "I do indeed." So it really was kind of a thing of destiny of sorts, and just so excited. We've got a great, very young group of players. Our upperclassmen are outnumbered by the freshmen. We have 8 freshmen this year, 6 returners, of course, 2 stellar returners in All-American Jasmine Charles and first team All-Conference selection Jenny Gust. So they look to be kind of the foundational points for what we'll be doing this year. But everything will be underscored with just having a great time, getting to know one another, and really developing some fine young women to represent the university in the best light possible. So. At that, if anyone's got questions, I'm happy to answer. We're on the heels here of a pretty remarkable start to a great football season. I'm excited for Coach Shields. I know our women's basketball team will be there between the bricks on Saturday to support them against Point University. So it's a great time for the Bear family all the way around.
Coach, is there anybody from last year's squad, underclassmen, that did not come back?
That did not come back. No, we have all returners. Yep, everybody's back, all 6. Yeah. A couple of the local players, Farrah Young from Hickory is back. Brooke Robinson from Fred T. Ford is back. They're both sophomores. So again, having a strong local presence, as well as a freshman, Marie Ritchie from Alexander Central. So we've got some good local talent, and looking for some great fan support from the Hickory and surrounding communities. So.
Coach, what was your feeling when you got the call about the job opening here?
I kind of just said, Boy, God's sense of humor is really good on this one. I was like, haha, very funny. 4 months later, had no idea what the timing was going to be. But, you know, as Neil and I spoke, I just really enjoyed the relationship that he and I shared in the past year, particularly. Really excited about his leadership and direction. So the conversation was one of talking to an old friend, certainly aware of the expectations of this program and the athletics department, but was absolutely tickled to death. Yeah.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Neil, for bringing me here January 14th of this year. There's a lot of new energy and new blood here. There is a great tradition here of football at Lenoir-Rhyne, and certainly recently. We anticipate continuing that, and we're working hard to do that. We've had what we feel has been a tremendous training camp. We're prepared to play this week, and I think everyone's anxious to go play this week. They're tired of looking at each other and swapping the same colored paint. We're ready to trade paint with another institution of higher learning this coming Saturday. Training camp, we were remarkably healthy. It's been a physical training camp, but most of the guys towards the front of the lines will be out there Saturday night. And you always worry about that as a head coach, especially the closer we get towards Saturday evening, is making sure your front of the line guys are out there full speed and ready to go. And knock on wood. Unfortunately, there's some wood here. They're all to this point ready to go. Some interesting news along those lines. We have some tremendous senior leadership. And I shouldn't say senior leadership, we have some tremendous underclassmen as leaders as well. We vote on team captains, the team did, it was a team vote. We have 4 young men selected as team captains. Offensively, Isaiah Whitaker and Joe Ray. Joe being an underclassman, you can see how respected he is, not only for his ability on the field, but off the field. Ike Whitaker is as good as it gets as a leader, a tremendous young man in our program and a heck of a player as well. Defensively, Blake Baker and Tanner Botts were elected captains. So we'll have 4 captains for the 2014 Bears team, and I don't think our guys could have done a better job of picking those 4. They represent everything we want a Bear football player to be about. And they're a credit to this institution on and off the field. So we're really pleased with how that went, and they'll provide outstanding leadership throughout the course of this season. And we'll need it. We'll need it. Offensively, we have a good group of players coming back. We also have some new faces. We lost 3 starters in the offensive line from a year ago. We've replaced them with some familiar faces and some new players. Starting at center, will be Dale Howard. Dale was a transfer that was here last year and sat out. Was a transfer to the Naval Academy. Has had a tremendous training camp. Matt Villani is a new face who actually played for me at Army. Was at West Point. And Matt and Tyler Evans have both been a heated competition at a right guard position. So they'll both play, and they'll both play well. Joe Ray is obviously a fixture back at right tackle. Jake Slagle's been over at the left side. He's played in games and played in the playoffs last year, so he has game experience, although he's a new starter per se for an extended period of time. We have a lot of firepower back in the backfield with Miles Freeman back at quarterback, fully healthy. He's 100%. That's been the ongoing question really since January, is how's Miles? I go, he's fine. He's going to be fine. We do have a capable backup behind Miles and Evan Sims. Evan's an extraordinary talent. One of the fast, he's on our track team. He is fast. He's fast, and he throws the ball well and is a good decision maker. So we're blessed to have him right there in the wings behind Miles, waiting if something should ever happen. And it's football. Sometimes things do. In the backfield, it starts with Ike Whitaker at fullback. Gerard Spears is back. All those guys were within an eyelash of rushing for 1,000 yards last year, and so they all kind of have an ongoing bet of who'll be the first to do it, because they've all been really close to hit that golden standard as a back. But we anticipate doing many of the same things that have been done here offensively. That was where the fit was to end up here at Lenoir-Rhyne. At receiver, our starters are all back at receiver, and Grayson Wells and Greg Baker. Vic Brandon is Preston, one of the better athletes on our team. He's also an outstanding track athlete for us as well. Defensively, we're excited. I think we'll have a stout defense. There are a lot of guys, again, some strong returners. There's 7 starters coming back on the defensive side of the ball. You start up front. I think the front of our defense will be a strength for us, particularly early on until some of the guys on the back end get their feet wet. Blake Baker, defensive tackle, is an excellent player for us, obviously an All-American. He's had a tremendous training camp. He's really emerging as a leader on our team. He's always been a lead by example guy. He's starting to step up and be a little more vocal. And like I said, he's the bell cow, if you will, defensively. Him and Tanner Botts. Tanner Botts is returning Defensive Player of the Year in the conference, All-American linebacker, and both those guys are looking to have a great senior season. There's a bunch of the guys around that you go out to the corner position. We have two. That's always important, especially as much as teams are throwing the ball these days. With O'Neal Blake and Joe Anderson as returning corners, a ton of experience out there. Those guys are excellent players. They're short, but they play big. They're two of the stronger players in our program, believe it or not, 5'9" and 190. But they're explosive, strong. They play large. They have each of them are 38-inch vertical jump guys. They can play. And we're fortunate to have them. And again, they're both extremely confident, as all corners should be. But they've been out there before. They're not going to freak out when the lights are on Saturday night. I think the main question for us defensively is, or at least the question, not the questions we have as a coaching staff, but the questions we get asked is how are you going to replace Mike Green and Meyer Nolan back at safety? Because you're talking about, with Mike Green, one of the better players that's ever put pads on here, and Meyer Nolan is pretty dang good too. Two all-conference players, and won the Player of the Year in the conference for all athletics in the South Atlantic Conference last year, Mike Green. I don't know if you can replace that. We have some guys that we think are athletic, that are tremendous talents. Marcus Kincaid is a heck of a safety who played here 2 years. He sat out a year ago. He's been out there. He's an excellent talent, local product as well. And you have Chris Schaefer, who transferred in at the semester last year for spring semester from Appalachian State. And Chris is a big physical presence of safety. He's about 6'3", about 210. He can run. He can hit. If you're out there last Saturday night in the mock game, you can see he can hit. So it'll be fun to see what those guys do when we go again face someone else other than ourselves. We're looking forward to this matchup against Point. I think they have a decisive advantage in the fact they've already played a game. That's a big deal in our sport. They'll be pad ready, speed ready, game ready. Having played Charleston Southern, a top 25 FCS program last week, they're not going to be freaked out by the big stage or the size or the speed of the game. They'll come up here with 11 determined competitors on each side of the ball, and we anticipate a hard-fought football game. Other than that, the focus for us must remain internal rather than external, and focus on what wins football games. And typically in early season matchups, it always comes down to the kicking game and the turnover battle. And if we can win the kicking game and the turnover battle and possess the ball offensively, take it away defensively, be sound in the kicking game, create some opportunities in the kicking game, then that'll bode well for us. Should that not happen, then it's football. And usually the football guys will punish you for not taking care of the football or winning the kicking game. So that's where we're at. I expect our guys to be excited to play. I know they'll be excited to play. There's a lot of reasons to play. Other than just to start with, they just love to play. They're passionate about the game. And they get a chance. These opportunities in football are precious. You're only guaranteed 11 this season. We aspire to play more than that, but you're only guaranteed 11. And then for other reasons as well. We had this spring a tragedy with Vincent Njoku's passing. Our guys are highly motivated this season to honor Vince with their play, and they'll do so this coming Saturday night. At that, I leave it to any questions that anyone has.
All right, Coach, I saw Point got kind of beat up in their last game, against Charleston Southern, who's a good team. Mm-hmm. Have you seen any weaknesses with them that you can exploit?
Well, they had their hands full Saturday night with Charleston Southern. I'm not sure a lot of people in the country wouldn't have their hands full with Charleston Southern. They're pretty dang good in every phase of the game. I would say Point defensively, I think they run well. They have a defensive end, a 94 who runs well. Their corner, 3 is an outstanding player, is a senior. They have some talent. Offensively, they pose some real challenges. Their running back's a returner. He ran for 1,500 yards a year ago. He's a big kid. He's a 230-pound tailback that's coming downhill with bad intentions. So we have to make sure. We need to make sure that well, we are aware of him. We got to do our best to try and contain him. I don't know that we'll ever be able to stop him, but at least try and contain him. They have a junior college transfer, a fullback who's a load as well, as about 250 pounds. So there's a lot of beef in that backfield and up front for him. So that'll be a challenge. They have a transfer wide receiver from Auburn, who was on the, who was there and played. So that speaks well for him. And then we saw in their game against Charleston Southern that they did a nice job in the kicking game against Charleston Southern. I know the score got lopsided. If you just look at the tape objectively, you say they got some athletes that can run and guys that are playing hard, and they were still playing hard. Even when the score got away from them, they were playing hard. They blocked the extra point, returned it for a touchdown. Not a touchdown, but for a 2-point conversion. And then they also returned a punt for a touchdown in the course of a game. And so they had some game-breaking opportunities there. They moved the ball at times. They had a few good drives that got stopped with a loss on downs or a turnover. But they moved the ball at times against Charleston Southern. Like I said, they had a lot of the mistakes that they were making earlier in that game you could attribute to first game mistakes, jitters, being on a different stage, not being used to the speed and the imminent contact that you have on when you're playing someone else.
Coach, you're not going to like this question very much, but how would you respond to a statement that, by gosh, that it looks like you should beat this team pretty handily?
Well, yeah, I don't like that question. But, it has. We're preparing for Point University and their best efforts. Like I said, they're coming up here with intention to beat us, and we're coming out here. We're only guaranteed one game a week, and that's the most important game on the schedule, and that's Point. And like I said, they have some advantages over us with how the schedule was set, and we'll need to overcome that. I would anticipate us being excited and come out and play well. And like I said, they're coming to beat us. What we need to focus on is just being us, and if we do that, everything will fall in line.
Going into your first game as head coach of Lenoir-Rhyne, just talk about your feelings of emotion, excitement that you're going through this week. Well,
certainly, you started to get that bubbly feeling in your stomach right on. When I get it, it's a little bigger than most. But we're getting ready. We're excited. It's like Christmas Day. We're getting ready to open up our presents. And as a coaching staff, a lot of us are new here, and we haven't had a chance to turn these guys loose and play. And it'll be fun to see what type of team we have. I think we have an idea, but we won't know until we're 3-4 games down the road of exactly what type of team we have and how it's going to develop over the course of the season. And we have to learn how to coach them and be paying attention as we go here, because this is a new team. The 2013 team's gone. It's 2014 team, and we'll see. It's a whole new entity. And I like where we're headed. I like the leadership we have. We have great systems in play. So like I said, we're excited to play and thrilled that we finally get to play someone here this Saturday night.
You talked about early on in the season where, in the first game, where it's trying to playing under control with your emotions. Yeah. Paul Fogelman wrote an outstanding article last year on Miles, part of the way through the season, where Miles admitted he came in the game and he was anxious and tried too much. Are you letting him handle his emotions, or have y'all talked about, because he went down early last year?
Yeah, well, I mean, Miles and I, we talk every day, but we reflected back on what happened in his opener a year ago, and he obviously he was not pleased with it, as was many others associated with the program. But he's a heck of a player and a competitor, and I think sometimes as a quarterback you can try, with the ball running through your hands on every play, you can try and do too much and try and win the game yourself and make plays. And really that's not the first rule of being a quarterback. The first rule of the quarterback is the same as the first rule of being a doctor, is do no harm. That's what the quarterback has to do first, is just drive the car and get us from point A to point B, stay between the lines, and let everyone else operate, let everyone else play the game. We have good enough players around Miles, and he knows that now, there's enough talent surrounding him where he doesn't have to do it himself. He has a great supporting cast and great teammates up front in front of him and to the sides and behind him. So I think he can relax and play easy. Certainly now he knows how to play here within this system. You look back a year ago and he hadn't really played a live game for 2 years. So now he has, and he's a great leader for our offense as well. And I anticipate him having a tremendous senior season.
You also talked about the returning running backs. There's some big shoes to fill, and one that graduated, Graham Duncan. Mike Patrick's moved over from fullback to take his position. How is that working for Mike so far?
It's been great. Mike made the transition this past right when we got here and was there all spring. So Mike Patrick's one of the better football players on our team. He has great feet, good speed, solid back. But you're right. Graham Duncan was just going back and watching that tape when we first got here. I kept showing him, who's that guy that keeps showing up, number 16, that funny-looking kid, because he made plays all over the field and was a great blocker and really an unsung player on that team that made a lot of things work. As a football coach, you can appreciate that probably didn't get enough credit. So Mike has big shoes to fill there, no doubt. And he won't be the lone guy there as well. James Phillips is a heck of a player who's been waiting in the wings behind Gerard. Kevin Eckel, who sat out a year ago, is a heck of a talent who's chomping at the bit to get out there and play some as well. So I think we have a few young guys that just entered our program that are extremely talented. They're just out trying to figure out when to go left and right and who to block and what route to run, and they're freshmen. But we're excited about that position. But Mike is certainly more than capable. Anticipate him playing very well.
Coach, I know that you've had seen a couple practices, and I know we can run the football. I've seen you in some of our throwing drills and things of that nature. What kind of confidence do you have in our passing game going into this first game?
Well, we aspire to be improved, and the bar's not set very high right there. We're going to be better throwing the football than there's been, but certainly our personnel is going to dictate what we do, and how our opponent defends us is going to dictate what we do. But I do believe we're improved as far as in the passing offense. It's about all 11 offensively. It's rhythmic in nature. The line has to protect, the backs have to run the right routes, and the receivers got to catch the ball, and the backs do, and the quarterback has to deliver it. It's not just a one-man band. So they all have to work in concert together, and that's the challenge. And we have to play to our players' strengths that we have here. But I do anticipate us being improved in the passing game. To what level? I don't know. It remains to be seen. For sure, though, Tom, if you want to see the ball in the air and just get there early in warm-ups, because we're going to air it out in warm-ups.
Coach, I think I've watched a lot of LL football over the years, and there's no question that confidence is key in a football game. And based on what the Bears did last year, I can't help but believe that you guys are eating up with confidence. They never quit. In every game, they never quit. Now, in your preparation for this year, with those guys you got coming back, that's got to give you and your coaching staff a leg up in preparation for it.
Well, there's no doubt. I think even going back to this past spring, the success breeds success. There's nothing like confidence in the game of football because it's going to get hard. The game of football is hard. You have to do tough things. The game is hard. The bounces go funny ways, and you're going to be challenged. And without that confidence, lesser teams will wilt. We won't. We have great leadership, and we have guys that have been there and have tasted success and like that taste. So we're fortunate to have those type of young men in our program, and that's one of the appealing things that attracted me to this position was there is an expectation of success, and there has been success because that's the type of people and the type of place you want to be associated with. So again, we're blessed to be here and have these young men playing for us, and we'll continue to recruit that way as well.
Coach, you said there was a pretty heated competition at right guard with Matt and Tyler. What stood out with Matt that won him that job?
Well, it's still Tuesday of game week. So we got the pads on here in a couple hours, so it's still competitive. I think Matt certainly has experience within the offense. He is very explosive, strong, mature. He bench presses close to 500 pounds. He runs well. He's just a little different physically than most. So he's a grown man. You see him walking around the halls here, you can see, is that a coach or a player, or a booster? I mean, his beard's thicker than Tommy's over there. So, I think we're fortunate, again, and Tyler Evans is a heck of a talent and an up-and-coming prospect, and we're thrilled with him as well. Jimmy Barrett, guard. Tyler will play, and Tyler can play both sides. So they're all going to be tired at the end of each Saturday. They're all going to get a play, and we're fortunate to have developed some depth there. And really, Matt has been a critical part of bridging that gap, and developing some depth for us.
Coach, how do you think your familiarity with the offense will impact the season?
Well, it's all I've done since probably about third grade, Lenoir. So I grew up, my dad was a coach. I grew up in an option offense. I played in it in high school and college, and grew up reading one and pitching off two. So there's great familiarity with it. That was, again, part of the fit, because Brent Thompson, the previous offensive coordinator here, worked with me at Bucknell University 10 years ago. So that was a lot of the fit. He kept telling me how great it was here at LR, and then when it came time, I listened. When we arrived here this spring, it was pretty easy. Oh, they call that this, we call that that. It's a lot of the same stuff. I think you'll see some wrinkles and twists as obviously there's always a gradual shift, but the core fundamentals and the core structure of things are what they are. You'll see us complement it possibly a little differently here and there. But offensively, it's been an easy transition as a coaching staff and for our players here, and I think we won't miss a beat.
Coach, Gary's got a question.
Yeah, Coach, wonder if you could say what you think might be the key to victory, or what you're going to look for most from your team?
Certainly. Well, it's interesting you ask that, Gary. The keys to victory in football are the same keys to victory that have been since Rutgers played Princeton in the first college football game. All right, you got to play with perfect effort. Okay, you got to win the turnover battle. You got to win the mental game. You got to win the kicking game. You got to win the critical situations. Those are the 5 keys to victory. All right, they're up all over our locker room if anyone ever gets confused. That's it. But it starts with effort. We expect our young men to play. If the average college football play lasts 6 seconds, we expect our guys to play with their hair on fire for all 6 seconds. So for all the working out they do all year long, say a young man plays 70 snaps of defense or offensive football, if they're in there every snap, what's that, 420 seconds? That's not asking too much to play really hard for 420. No, we didn't say great effort, we said perfect effort. So we hold them to a pretty high standard. But that'll be the key. Like I said, that and as I reflected back earlier, the kicking game always in the early seasons, always an issue, and the turnover battle.
Coach, it's been a great day. Katie, it's been a great day. I want to thank all of you all for coming. I do have one little footnote, and as my